Like the room is filling up. I was here at 7:30. Who was here at 7:30? Very good. Okay. We're making progress. Well, I think it was great to start this morning with Robert Dixon and Mark Templeton. I think they certainly gave us a great perspective on a global to local aspect of this issue of energy that we've been talking about for the last 2 days. I'm so pleased that you all have joined us. I would like to certainly thank again our 4 chancellors for convening and for collaborating in putting this summit together. I'd also like to be sure that I thank our sponsors, including Mark Templeton and the Department of Natural Resources, for all the work that they've done to help make this successful. So again, thank you, gentlemen. To Jack Carney, I would say that another 10 years or so in Rollin, we'll have those A's rounded off a bit. So, Jack, you got that? Okay. For those of you that weren't here yesterday, you'll have a chance to go into our website, MissouriSummits.com, and see yesterday's presentations. I think we had a great lineup. The speakers all did a great job. It was a very diverse afternoon, and certainly Boone Pickens, I think, laid out a challenge for us that's really hard to resist. He has a plan. Absent that plan, then what's our plan? And as Mark said just a few minutes ago, how do we turn this discussion of yesterday and today into some actionable items? It's now my real pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Missouri's Governor Jay Nixon. You know, the governor came into his role in mid-January at perhaps what was one of the toughest times, not just for him, but other governors. In fact, our president in Washington, the toughest times in recent history in terms of things on the list to do. And as he came onto that job, certainly there were opportunities for him to kind of pick what he wanted to focus on. But let me just say that his voice in support of higher education, his support in understanding the role that education plays in turning around our economy and our state, providing a path for the future, an opportunity for students to learn, an opportunity for researchers to thrive in an environment that's very conducive to economic development. Governor Nixon has been a loud advocate from day one and came out of the gate on day one by supporting holding our budgets flat in exchange for our agreeing to hold tuition flat. So what a great message for students in our state, what a great message to our institutions about ensuring that our mission is in fact protected and enhanced as we go through this period of time. Yesterday we had a unique opportunity in Jefferson City. We had, it was our Alumni Day. We had almost 500 alumni and Missouri Extension representatives in the Capitol calling on our elected officials. And I had a chance yesterday to follow the governor as he kind of rallied the troops and talked about issues that are important related to higher education. He had to walk out of the room, so he doesn't know this, but actually as I got up to follow him, I said amen, because he covered all the points that were on our list related to preserving state funding in regards to caring for Missourians, a very important health care access issue, capital projects that certainly we would hope the stimulus and stabilization funds, which would allow us to make some progress on, and an issue called Access Missouri, which would better balance scholarship dollars. So he hit our points. After he left, we kind of turned it into a bit of a tent revival meeting and really did rally the troops. And I think we had a great day yesterday in Jeff City. At the same time, the governor has taken on education. He has also turned his attention to the issue that's been the focus of our summit, that energy, healthcare, among other items, are the way that we create high-paying jobs in our state. And the fact that he's assembled talent like Mark Templeton and Linda Martinez, economic director, I think certainly bodes well for our state as we look to the future. Last night, and I won't scoop his ability to describe exactly how his prowess at the Cardinals game, but he left, I know, to go to St. Louis last night. I will say that I turned the game on in the bottom of the ninth, and there was a different pitcher than our governor pitching, and he's back here this morning, so we've got him back on his day job, but I'll let him describe his pitching prowess. It's my pleasure to welcome Governor Jay Nixon to our Energy Summit. Governor.
Good morning. Thank you, and good morning. I was a little nervous about throwing the first pitch of the Cardinal game because they said it's the first pitch. I thought it was the Cardinals wanted to win, it was the ceremonial pitch. I mean, if it was actually the first pitch, we would have been down 1-0 to start the game. Well, certainly good to be here this morning. It's great to see President Forsee, who has been working tirelessly to help move forward the agenda of higher education during his tenure already. Well, and helping to lock in that connection between education and the economy. I mean, I really think that for many years we had this disconnected analysis that you kind of went to college and went to higher education, but that was separate from what we were doing to move the economy forward. And the President and his team and all of us have working to help make sure that everybody in the state understands that an improved workforce, a trained workforce, is in fact an economic development tool for the state. And this conference is yet another example of how his and this university's leadership is second to none. I'm going to sign an order here in a few minutes, but just as a small note, as a small note of pandering directly to this audience, one of my first actions when I came in as governor was to change the relatively ugly blue things that were governor's executive orders were in to the black and gold where it sits now, and it will remain that way. It's I also, for those of you that ever get one of these ceremonial pins when I sign something, you've got to realize I think I'm also the only governor that that you have their name on the pin so that everybody can take them afterwards. I think I'm the only one that they have to print my name underneath my signature because no one can read my writing. I guess I should have gone to med school instead of law school. The Missouri Energy Summit is taking on a critical issue for not just for this region but for the world right now, and it's crucial at this time for our state. So the University of Missouri system and its leaders leading right now and this incredibly top-flight panel of speakers, leaders on energy production, transmission, conservation, folks from business, academia, and public sector, and you just heard from my Director of Department of Natural Resources, Mark Templeton, one of the great young minds in moving this state and this country forward. We're really excited to have him back and in Missouri in my cabinet. I'm a little jealous of him, too. He was confirmed unanimously. I never won any election like that. But this summit is an important initial step for Missouri as we work together to most wisely use our current energy resources, develop new dependable sources of energy, and in the process, fundamentally transform this vital part of our economic engine. We don't come out of this recession with a fundamentally changed economy, we'll miss an opportunity, just that simple. So we look forward to using this as a continuing part for many years to come as a jump start to what we need to do in this state. This morning I want to take just a couple of moments to discuss where we've been and where we're headed as a state when it comes to the use of energy. Thinking back even just 200 years, Missouri was a little more than a fledgling territory in the vast and largely unexplored western expanse of our nation. It was fun. I highly recommend you all going down to Norton's Landing and seeing the place where Lewis and Clark had their first encampment, and they both carved their initials right there outside of Jeff City by the Osage River. It's been a long time ago, but that's how we started. Getting around at that time wasn't easy, and we were just beginning to learn about the untapped natural resources that existed across and under the Western Plains. 100 years later, the railroads made moving people and goods faster and easier, connecting almost every sizable town in our state. Thomas Edison's light bulb was lighting up homes and businesses, and electric power was beginning to flow to people's homes, even to the farms that made up so much of our state and country. At the same time, Edison's friend, Henry Ford, was toying with his new Model T, which he would change and use to change our nation forever when it hit the market in 1908 as the first mass-produced automobile. In the past 100 years, the technology that we use on a daily basis and the energy that's required to do so has changed incredibly. From automobiles on to a few miles of paved road to air travel that links the world, from the early days of radio and television to instant global communications through the internet and other devices. We're moving faster. We're traveling further. We're communicating in ways not dreamed of a few decades ago. And to do all of that, we're using more energy than ever before. Let's not kid ourselves. Each and every one of us have a lot of gadgets and a lot of needs. That energy demand is not going to fall to the side. So in 2009, Missouri stands at an energy crossroads. And it's up to us to move our state in a direction that will meet our energy needs for the future. We can do so by embracing technologies that will produce cleaner fuels and reduce our dependence on foreign oil, by ensuring that we have highly trained workforce here in Missouri to maximize the benefit of these technologies, and by positioning the state of Missouri to become a leader in the conservation of energy in state offices and buildings. I should also like to commend the legislature working with us this year to try to make the first step in part of that area, which is the Senate is currently working on. I think will pass and move to the House soon, a measure that will actually allow conservation to be put in the rate base, so that as a state, it's everyone here must understand what I just said. It's not usually an applause line. It's nice to be on a college campus where you can use multi-syllable words and not feel as if it's damaging to your message, shall we say. I think you understand what I'm saying. For far too long, conservation has been something that we as a state have not incented, that we have not made a part of a business model. And if the legislature can move this forward so that a company that's producing power, if they get as much ability to get a rate of return on saving power as they do on building another coal plant, then we as a state will begin the bigger process in the long run of incenting them to help us make conservation without it being seen that conservation takes away from their ability. We need to accelerate conservation, and we need to focus on it, not de-accelerate it and de-incentivize it. So I'm hopeful that the legislature will get that done this year. But we must also continue to promote high-tech business growth. I mean, we've got a lot of examples here. I mean, Burns and McDonnell in the Kansas City area is unbelievable, the things they're doing. We were there just this week. Retrofitting buildings, wind technology, all sorts of pools that they're doing to deal with water issues. It's unbelievable. COCAM and Eagle Pitcher batteries. I mean, COCAM in Lee Summit, Missouri, that we're currently trying to negotiate with to expand dramatically their lithium alloy battery projects, that they look towards a huge market in the future. We already have inked the first deal, and we'll have the first electric utility vehicle, a vehicle to service small businesses and businesses on their delivery routes will be made at Smith Electric in Kansas City. We've partnered with a company from Europe. Missouri is a majority owner, but we look forward to moving forward there. I mean, we look to Joplin, Missouri, and see Eagle Pitcher. I mean, as you look up at the space shuttle, the batteries that run a number of their activities up there come right from that company that works right down in Joplin, Missouri, and we're also working with them right now on a significant proposal to dramatically increase the storage capacity around wind turbines so that pulsing power can be more directly controlled. I was with them recently, and we'll be back down working with them. Just this last week, we were excited by the $300 million wind farm in DeKalb County that's been announced, and the cooperative agreement with the elected cooperatives down in Springfield to use a significant portion of that power. It's for those of you that haven't been up there to see those wind farms, it's a wonderfully interesting and fascinating thing to see. I highly recommend going to Conception Junction there and seeing the windmills literally if you look at the two sides of the road there, you've got on one side you have a nunnery, and the other side you have the place where the priests are trained. Conception Junction being an interesting name, but we'll just leave it to that. But absolutely, I mean, for those folks, they have wind farms now. They're receiving income off that's allowing them to move their religious missions forward. I mean, it's just that simple. So we need to make sure that we've got tools in the economic toolbox of the state so that as these new things happen, we're in a position to incent them and to attract them. So that's why I've been pressing hard, and we'll leave here in just a few minutes to head back to the legislature to continue to push them on our economic development package this year, which includes things which will make a real difference. I mean, expanding our quality jobs program, which says we only give benefits if they provide above average salaries and provide health care. Expanding significant job retraining. I mean, I'm convinced that training and retraining workers of the future is just extremely vital. So we will continue to have a coordinated effort by the state, including the Department of Agriculture, Economic Development, Natural Resources, all of it, to move forward to make sure that we've got green jobs for the future here and that we are transforming this economy as we move forward in the state of Missouri. Now, we also have to, as I said before, we're on a campus here, I want to take just a second to talk about this high-tech workforce. It doesn't do us much good if we don't have the human capital out there to do what it takes to get done. Not only the research, not only the investigation, not only the testing, but also to have the actual trained workers that can operate these new, higher-tech, greener facilities. So not only will these businesses lead America's energy technology into the future, they'll also create good-paying jobs for Missourians and help us move our economy forward. And this is the time that we can draw that connector. I mean, we got this morning when people got up in the state of Missouri, 261,000 people looked in the mirror, and what looked back at them was someone who's not getting a paycheck, someone who's unemployed, a 25-year high in unemployment in this state. This is a transition point for us. And creating these jobs, drawing the connection between an energy policy, higher education, and jobs is the trifecta here that we have to merge in order to get the incentive and the energy to get this completed. So we need to make sure that our workforce is trained for these jobs. And one of the basic parts of that is that education has to be affordable. I mean, we've reached this dramatic point in our state and in our country where especially higher education, with the cost, with the states backing up across the country their support for higher education over the last decade, with the states being unwilling to meet their end of the bargain, we've seen some indicators slip and move dramatically. We have moved below 50% of the budgets of higher education in public sector coming from the state's budget. That's unacceptable. I mean, we cannot continue. I mean, the states that are succeeding are not doing it on the backs of the students and giving debt to the future. We cannot. I mean, I hate to be long. I've got 11 minutes here to go. Don't worry. I'm not going to stay long. But it's just a quick piece of that. I mean, right now the biggest graduation gift we're getting across this state and across this country is debt. And that is impeding our economy. I mean, my father went to school here, undergraduate and law school. The GI Bill got him through, worked a job. When he graduated from law school or Tate Hall here, went back to Jefferson County to practice law. First thing he did was he did a quitclaim deed for a client. And he said to the client, give me $1. I want to frame the first $1 I made practicing law. I mean, he charged him more than $1. Obviously, you can't practice law for $1 a deed, but had the client sign the deed. My dad framed it. He's now 85 years old. Had it up in his office all those years, now has it up in his home. Bottom line is he graduated debt-free. 35 years later, when I graduated from Tate Hall over here, walked across, actually crutched across from an injury in intramural sports here, this very stage. But we did, ultimately, once I was hurt, our team was able to win the game. But that's kind of my athletic career in a summary. But bottom line is, when I graduated from law school, that first $1 I made, I mean, I went and bought a Mustang with it, but that was my debt. I chose that debt. Now kids graduating with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 with graduate degrees, $80,000, $90,000 of debt, and they're not jump-starting the economy. They're not making the purchases that move things forward. Once again, this is just vitally important, because not only is it limiting the economic power of people when they graduate, it is also putting an economic disincent for people to go back to school or move forward. I mean, not just for scientists that are going to come up with next-generation technologies here, but think about the mom with 2 kids who's an LPN, unmarried, 2 kids, making $24,000 a year, who wants to be an RN, but looks at tuition costs and debt and can't look in the eyes of her kids and say, we're going to borrow money and not have Cheerios for breakfast here for a while so that after 8 or 9 years of working, I'll be able to maybe pay all that back. So that's why it's just so important that through President Forsee's leadership and others that we were able to do a deal this year, a historic deal in Missouri. That's the start. It's not the finish of where we're going in higher education, but the start, the frame point that we move forward. And that is that we agreed to hold consistent and not have any of the cuts that higher education has seen in the past in its base funding. And the trade back for that is that all of higher education, all across the state of Missouri, all the public higher education, would keep tuition at the same level and academic fees. Folks, that is a huge beginning. I mean, especially when you look at state budgets across this country. I mean, I was struck right after I was elected by watching one night on C-SPAN, seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger make this historic agreement that he had limited the increases of all the California colleges, and he was very proud of it, to 13% this year. It was nice to be in office for 10 days and already be stronger than Arnold, but we'll leave it at that. But the point is that the university system and the public education see it. They understand that, and I applaud them for coming with us and moving this. And it looks as if that portion of our effort in the legislature is going to bear fruit, and it gives us a starting point to move forward. And it also gives us a shift from being on defense, from sending alumni association people, from sending folks down there, from people lobbying their representatives and senators, from people talking about how do we save things, how do we stop cuts, how do we restore. Instead, it shifts us to an offensive mentality. It begins thinking about how do we transition and accelerate forward. How do we get going faster? I get in trouble for the analogy I'm giving here because it shows a little bit of my Jefferson Countyism, but just real quickly, the best analogy I've been able to come up with as to where we are in this economy, where we are in higher education, where we are in energy, is a NASCAR analogy of all things. For those of you who are not significant NASCAR fans, bear with me. For those of you that are, you probably know what I'm going to say anyway. Bottom line is, when you and I are driving on a road and we come to a curve, we hit the brakes, slow down, go around the curve. Now, that's not the way it works in NASCAR, especially in turn 4. You know, you've got the 4 turns. You come to that fourth turn that comes into the straight stretch. As you come into that turn, through that short straight stretch into that turn, what you do, what Carl Edwards does, not as well as he should have the other night, but what Carl Edwards does, is you put the pedal down. You accelerate into that turn 4. The reason that you do it scientifically is that additional speed gets the downdraft on the car through the curve so that literally the car holds in the turn better. It's pushed down. But more important than that, what it does as you come out of that turn, you're slingshotted and you get this acceleration down the home stretch. Now, that's what we need to do. We're in a transition point here. If we put the brakes on, if we slowly move through this turn we're in, when we hit the straight stretch, other states, other countries, and other people will move right on past us, okay? But if we put the pedal to the metal now, even with the challenges we face economically, even with the challenges we have in costs, the benefits we will get in the future will be dramatic. We will jump ahead of our competitors and we'll move forward. So now is the time. This is the place to put the pedal to the metal and get us moving forward. We need to make sure that we have a workforce that can deliver for us in the future. And those workers, many of which we trained right here in this system. We also have to make sure we're connecting even younger people to this new economy. You can't make a significant change unless the young people are involved in that change. That unless they embrace, quite frankly, unless they lead us. I mean, they're going to push us. And it's important that we have them. That's why this summer we've got a one-of-a-kind program that we're pushing, our Next Generation Jobs team. Under the Federal Recovery Act, we've gotten some resources. And what we're doing with those resources in the summer job area is we're putting together a Next Generation Jobs team. What this means is that what we're going to do is get young folks between 16 and 24, and then we're going to get employers in these type of incredibly cool new jobs, and we're going to match up in internship programs of the summer over 6,000 of these kids in these businesses to work this summer. Let me give you an example of that. Just this week, as part of this announcement, we went down to Associated Electric in Springfield. They're a real leader in alternative energy, folks, especially wind power. They're the ones that are going to take the power from the wind field I talked about in northeast Missouri. They're the ones buying that 56 megawatts of power. They're the ones that are going to wheel that power out. They're the ones helping finance that. Springfield, Missouri, power in DeKalb County. Anyway. So what they're doing as part of our team on this next generation job team is they've agreed to sponsor with us 12 young people this summer in internships, working right there in the center of their organization. We're paying for them. They're helping us train them. These young folks will get to see what these jobs are about. It was also interesting when we stood there at the announcement. Standing behind me were 15 people who had started to work at Associated Electric as interns over the last 15 years, and we're now running the company. Okay, so getting these young folks in all of these, Burns and Mac is helping us on this. Right now, today, we announced this, began at ABC Labs here in Columbia, I should note, this week, but in 36 hours, we have signed up 2,573 16 to 24-year-olds who are applying to work for us this summer, and work for employers this summer, and we already have 353 employers who have signed up in the first 2 days here to be sponsors and to work with us on this. So a little shameless promotion, mo.gov, go there if you want the job or you're a company that wants to try to sign up. What we're going to do is match. There's a thing to fill out for applications, and we'll then work to match to the local workforce investment boards young people with jobs of the future in their area, and match this up. But to be, 2 days into this and already have 2,573 young folks and 353 businesses, we're going to meet our goal of 6,000 folks working this summer. We'd like to have a lot more applications than that so that we can really focus on this, and we need obviously more companies helping work with us. These are positions we hope will kindle the flame of interest in these young people to obtain the necessary education to be part of emerging technologies. Plus, we're paying for the jobs. The other good thing as far as the stimulus part of this, if there's one thing I can guarantee you, we put 6,000 kids out there, paying them an average of $11.50 an hour. They talk to the economists. I guarantee you these young folks will spend that money. Okay, it is as stimulating as anything. There'll be absolutely no savings from them other than to use that into our economy and get it moving forward. As a father of 2 sons, I can guarantee a stimulus will occur. My kids will not be hired, but that's a whole. Anyway, but while we're working to embrace these technologies and create jobs of the future, Missouri, the state, we also have to become a leader. We have to be an example. Those of us in the public, the light shines relatively bright on us. The state is one of the largest employers and energy consumers in Missouri. We have a responsibility to set an example for state employees, businesses, and citizens across our state. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. In just a few moments, I'll get over here and I'm going to sign a groundbreaking executive order, something that's never even come close to being touched in our region. This executive order, last year, Missouri spent $54.7 million on energy costs in our state buildings. Now, I'm not talking about the universities or our affiliated organizations. I'm talking about just the state part of that. So today, in just a few moments, I'm going to sign Executive Order 9/18, which orders all state agencies whose building management is directed by my Office of Administration to institute policies that will reduce their energy consumption by 2% per year for each of the next 10 years. So 20% down in 10 years. We're going to do it too. We're not going to actually. The state of Missouri must not only talk the talk on energy conservation, we must walk the walk. We have to lead. It's not fair for us in the public sector to speechify and not act. And we're going to act. We're going to lead. This will be good for the environment and lead us away to a brighter, cleaner energy future for all of us. And it's also good for Missouri's taxpayers. It's a fiscally responsible thing to do. A 2% reduction from 2008 means a reduction of more than $1 million a year of taxpayer funds spent to power state buildings. Combined with additional reductions over the next 10 years, it's tremendous savings for our state and will be a cumulative, give us resources to put in other missions that are very, very important to the state of Missouri. We will work with the Department of Natural Resources Energy Center to plan how these energy reductions are made, whether it comes through weatherization or implementing more efficient ways to heat or cool buildings. We will look at each building to determine how we can do better, and we will then do better. In addition, I'll be instructing the state's Division of Facilities Management, Design, and Construction to adopt a clear, decisive standards for energy consumption and efficiency in all buildings, all the buildings it controls, and to share these standards with other departments, things such as higher education and others in our state. The state has experts in facilities management, and we have experts in energy conservation. We're going to maximize that expertise in an energy efficiency plan for the benefit of the environment and taxpayers. So again, first of all, my thanks for the University of Missouri system for assembling this high-level summit. I am committed, and my administration is committed, to continuing these discussions in the years to come and making sure that the state of Missouri is an active leader in our efforts to embrace emerging technologies and alternative energies, to create the high-tech jobs of tomorrow, and to conserve our precious natural resources for generations to come. I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you for your involvement. I'll now take a seat and sign this executive order and get the folks in Jefferson City cutting the energy bills of the state. Thank you very much.